I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your
Okay.
side. Yeah, great.
Well, we're real happy with what was going on, and at the end of the day, you got to be happy.
What'd you say his name was again?
His name is Ricky. Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby? He's got 2 first names.
Whatever the hell his name is. Let's get him over here.
Everything ended up fine.
Okay. Yeah, okay, everything was fine. Thanks. Great job, Ricky. Good job in the car. Ricky Bobby, a force to be reckoned with possibly in the near future.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. Welcome to episode number 106. We got the recap from Northern Wisconsin Muskie Opener. We finally got it. It's here. The muskie season has begun, and the boys got after it in the weekend, and we're going to recap that tonight and go right into it. So let's get the Mott boys here on the line. We got none other than Brian Eckel. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. Had an absolute blast for opener this past weekend. Definitely was. We didn't ease ourselves into it. I think it was 7 a.m. to like 11 p.m. on Saturday.
Pretty much.
We were gone from the house for at least 16 hours. So, nice to dive in head first and tackle a couple different bodies of water on opening day. It's like every opener, kind of tough to develop a pattern, but we'll kind of get into that more as we go through the pod tonight. Special guest, a regular joining us later on. So excited to talk to that boy on how he did. But without further ado, Max, you got a little grin on your face, a little shit-eating grin. What's up with you tonight?
Man, how about it, fellas? Felt good to be back, huh?
You are back.
We are so back.
Never was gone.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, the muskie season was, but it is back. We are all the way back. Agreed with you there, Brian. The body was definitely screaming at me on the drive home on Monday. Just a hell of a weekend though with you boys and our buddy Jack. Had so much fun. Not to start the podcast off on a negative note or anything, but I do have a take I kind of want to get off my chest here. And unfortunately, it's at the expense of another one of our co-hosts here. As we did do our yearly goals for the season a couple months back, one of Brian's goals was to catch a fish over the size of 36 inches on a glide bait. And I'm here to inform our listeners and Brian and Gus too, it just ain't gonna happen. It just ain't gonna happen, man.
Ain't no way.
After
Weekend.
watching what I saw this weekend out of I don't think not only will you never catch a fish over 36 inches on a glide bait, I'm gonna go as far to say that you will never catch a fish on a glide bait in your entire life.
That's crazy.
The
Coordination just isn't there, dog.
I have never seen somebody give up on a lure so quickly. It was 3 casts, and it was
right.
one of your
No, okay. Well, here, in my defense, right? Nobody caught a fish all weekend on a glide in our boat.
Okay.
True.
They were reacting to other lures early on, straight retrieve lures. And obviously, I don't have the most confidence in the glide. Yeah, I don't work at the prettiest, but they like, a nice herky-jerky, erratic presentation. But
That's
either
what you
way,
wanna
I
call
was
it.
like, this isn't going to be efficient. Like, fish are moving. I'm not going to sit here, fiddle around like an idiot with a glide. And so I think I went back to it at some point to try it, a different style glider, and it still just felt like, man, I'm not covering water. Figure eights are lackluster. It really took my full attention span to keep that sucker dancing, and I just wasn't about it.
To be
I'll admit
fair,
it.
Brian, I'll give you the little benefit of the doubt. We did fish slightly deeper structure
Yeah.
than you'd probably expect to throw a glide bait. However, we did have opportunities at shallow water, and that is where we moved some fish on glide, but also no bites. So, and it was
Yeah.
thrown other than you, but
No,
yeah.
we just got a full year in front of us. I'll be out some more times here coming up. If we know the fish are in the weeds in shallow,
You
I'll
better
clip her
pray for a
on.
cold front in July.
I'm not. Yeah, burning glide baits
Or
in,
come
but
back up here and post turnover. I think we can
yeah,
get you one on the glide. I know a spot
yeah.
or two that should be able to get her done on a Conklin or Tom's or something.
I mean,
It really wasn't my fault. It just wasn't the weekend for a glide bite. And the glide baits I was using just weren't
Right.
working.
yeah, I'm sure no fish were caught on musky opener in northern Wisconsin on a glide bait.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to be a hater here. I'm just calling it like I see it. And this all sounds good and dandy. Cold front in July, post turnover. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm throwing the glider. There's no way. There's no chance. I will be shocked if I see a glide bait on your rod at any point in time in July when you're up there.
Wow.
August, September, October,
Says a wow.
November, December. It doesn't matter. I saw the look in your face after those first couple casts. You said, "Give me that swimming dog. We're going to work."
Yeah. And what do we do? What did we do, Max?
Put
Within,
in
I don't
work.
know, an hour. What do we do?
Well, you put a fish in the net, which was
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
I'm not faulting you, man. I'm not trying to be a hater here. Trust me.
It sounds like you're a hater.
I'm really not trying to hate
Because
at
I'm
He's
all.
just laying it out
you know
there.
what?
He's laying it
You're
out
really
there for
making
everyone to
me
hear.
be. I'm becoming a glide bait hater.
Look, we had multiple people reach out to us asking if your fish was caught on a glide bait.
I know.
And I'm just trying to put the word out. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. You know what I mean? So you don't have to keep
Let's
asking.
not write it off. Miracles happen. Let's just say
We're s-
that it's going to be harder than I thought.
No,
Are we
I'm
saying it's better
literally saying
chances?
it's not happening.
Okay.
Better chances for the Packers to win the Super Bowl?
We'll revisit this.
Astronomically better.
It was Rory to win the Masters. We got that done.
Right.
Keyword.
Right. Right. Yeah. You and Rory got that done together. So
Yeah.
you'd think you would have all the motivation in the world to just
Throw it.
have some patience and some confidence with that glide bait. And it was sub 6 minutes. I mean, to be fair, I think
I
you threw
know.
it for about 6 minutes. Would you say that's accurate, Gus?
I'd say
Yes.
yeah, 6, 7, maybe 10. But I spent more
That's a
time,
stretch, dog.
I think, modding other types of baits, custom
did.
mods on the boat than I did with a glide bait in the hand. I got
how'd
more
those go?
faith in me jimmy rigging a bait than using a damn glide bait.
How'd that
That's
go?
just where I'm at. None of the mods, but the mods also didn't get enough runtime.
That's because you'd also throw those for 5 minutes, be like, nah, this just ain't it.
I love how you had to
Go right
think
back
on
in the
it.
box and just disorganize the entire boat
Yeah.
in a matter
will-
of 5 minutes.
Well, and we'll talk about it, and I want to give you credit. You didn't catch a fish on one of your mods this weekend, but you did catch a fish on something you yourself created. In
Yeah.
a sense.
Oh yeah.
So,
From scratch.
And we'll get into that here shortly, but I think we'll break it down for the listeners here on the opener. I kind of want to preface the weekend. So we did the last two podcasts. We kind of had a pretty big breakdown of basically post-spawn muskies. We had Taylor and Matt on for Iowa muskies. That was just full-on post-spawn muskie talk. Last week we had Brian Schaefer on. We talked a ton about opener, early season tactics, post-spawn fish, and everything. And pretty much through all that, I think we kind of formulated a plan and went into day one fishing new water, fishing some stuff with Brian Schaefer's crew and whatnot. So we weren't going in fully blind, but we were going in brand new. Never musky fished it before at all. Just scouted it once, put a couple waypoints down, found where some weeds were, and we were still excited. I mean, I think we were all really pumped. I mean, we knew the potential to have really big fish there, and we just knew it was going to be tough. So mentally, I think it was fine for an opener. I mean, I know there was a point there in the morning where, what do we say? Usually on opener, any bender weekend, we find ourselves somewhere in like the 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. range where all of a sudden we're in an area and we all look at each other and we're like, what the hell are we doing here? And why are we fishing?
Yeah, it kind of happened.
And we have to like step back and be like, all right, what's going on? Do we need to switch lakes? Do we need to go to actually where the fish probably are, not in this back freaking whatever? Who knows? Yeah.
Gorgeous.
But
I didn't want to leave.
But no, it was gorgeous, and we had we had a good follow on a swimming dog. Our buddy Jack raised, I don't know, he just said big fish a few times, and I think over the weekend it might have grown a little bit, but he said
Sounds
around
like
that
maybe
low
mid
to mid
40s.
40s,
Yeah.
probably mid 40s, like a, shit brick house is what he said. It was a 2x4 turd coming through the water and kind of scared him a little bit, but yeah, unfortunately we didn't get that one to go, but Brian did the old tactic of fooling him with the glide bait for 6 minutes, throwing on the swimming dog again, and hammering a 30-incher, getting the boys on
Yeah.
the board around, what was it, like 10 a.m. opening morning?
Yeah, I gotta tip the cap to you on that. Went through the box, checking out all the new baits, and bam, caught my eye. Bright orange, kind of translucent swimming dog sitting there,
Mm,
untouched, brand new, right out the wrapper.
yes, sir.
And
Fresh custom.
immediately in love. I didn't even know that was a custom color. And so I clipped that bad boy on. Sure enough, as predicted, think it's absolutely inhaled by a giant 30-incher. So yeah, it was fun to
Boys
shake
are
the
on the
rust off and
board.
set the hook. I don't remember if I called big fish right when I set the hook, but I kind of forgot what muskies felt like, and the thing just like was
You
unmovable at the
said
hook
it
set. I was like,
throttled
God,
you.
yeah, it did. Couldn't move it.
Couldn't move it.
No
No, I
time in
mean,
the
it was,
weight room this winter.
well,
Yeah,
I don't think many of us moved super fast because what did we catch? Over a dozen pike just
yeah.
before that. Like the pike bite went in fuego. Every crankbait we'd find in the box, they'd eat.
Max, you
Yeah.
caught three in a row, right?
3 casts in a row. I was like, all right, I'm taking this damn bait off. I mean, I got really sick of unhooking those dang
What were you
things.
throwing for all the pike fishermen out there?
Uh,
Dude.
what was I
Crane,
throwing? I think I went to
Rain.
my old trusty crane bait.
like a seven or
We
eight
were
inch
fishing
crane.
some pretty shallow weeds, and it was like 3 casts in a row, and maybe like 4 out of 7 casts. I mean, it just felt like it was almost every single cast we were catching a pike. We're like, we got to get the
Yeah.
heck out of this area. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, the opening morning was great. Like it was kind of a nice reminder of like it still is musky fishing, but we got the first one in the boat that morning, which I think always feels good. We were able to go get a nice, very, very lengthy lunch with
Yeah.
Brian Schaefer, his crew. Keys was there. So if you guys see us
Oh,
on a Keys
Mikey's
episode, watching Brian just bite into a
Mao burger.
cheeseburger, just getting filmed
Yeah.
mowing cheeseburgers and
You
throwing
deserve it after
back.
that monster in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. That was a good little lunch break. I think it was probably a good thing that that food didn't come out for a while. Gave us a good time to settle in and have a few drinks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed
we
too.
had all that rain going on Saturday morning, which I honestly kind of forgot to check the weather. I don't even know if it was
Oh,
in there. It felt like there was a dark rain cloud above us for over half of that morning, which kind of stunk, and it rained even when we were eating lunch. So we were totally good with taking our time. I mean,
that
I
we
think we
did.
went in around 1 and we didn't get back in the water till about 4:30 on our next lake
Yeah.
change.
And it was not that long of a drive.
This is correct.
Um, yeah, it was a really good time and I think well, I don't know how those guys did in the afternoon, but that was a pretty good indication that morning on how important lake decisions were because felt like most of the people that went out and decided to musky fish on Saturday morning caught, and a lot of the people, in that crew who were all great sticks didn't. We lucked into one. But it just felt like that area, that system was a little shut downy. You know what I
Different
mean?
time. Don't know if we're too late or too early. Honestly, unsure. So we might
I
have
mean,
had
we
to.
we we always kind of go out and explore on opener.
Right.
Like
We
last
do.
year, we
We
went and
don't.
hit new lakes. So like it's always fun to
Yeah.
do that. We enjoy going to new lakes and figuring them out. The place where we went Saturday morning was gorgeous, like awesome structure to fish. Love to go back, but yeah, I mean it's opener. It's hard to predict where they're going to be and if they're going to be eating.
And he said it was a low
Yeah.
numbers, deal. So not surprising that, we didn't go out there
Right.
and whack a bunch.
Right. So with that being said, we decided to, because we went into Saturday like, oh, I mean, if we stumble onto something or it happens to be on, we'll go back, no problem. But we decided to lake change and go with cleaner water, a little clearer system, and try to find like a good shallow weed bite still where there's new emerging weeds kind of on the transitions of sand into the first emerging weeds, basically trying to pick off those fish that are post spawn. And we still slightly struggled. I think we were dealing with some sluggish fish. But then out of nowhere, the moon went down. So it wasn't hot and heavy right at 6 p.m. as I predicted, but the morning fish was on the morning major. Then the moon went down at 6, and I think it was around 7, like an hour and a half before dark. We just moved a pile. Like they seemed to just actually come out and take a look at our lures. And Max, you did have a hot one come in on a swimming dog. That was definitely the ticket on day one at least, and got really close, but we had a lot of sun glare. Brian was throwing a freaking globe that was making a shit ton of noise. That's a funny video. Max goes into the 8 and he goes, oh, here comes one, and does a big turn, and it like opens its mouth. It's trying to eat. The fish like doesn't quite get to the bait, so then he keeps going in the figure 8. Brian's out in the cast bringing in his globe, and I just hear that thing chuck 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 on its way in, still just barreling that thing in. Max is trying to work this fish. Brian gets to the boat, starts figure eighting as Max is figure eighting, and then, and then like the fish kind of disappears, and then Brian, you take the bait out of the water for a second, and as I'm like pointing because I have a good view from the back, I'm like, oh, there it is, and I point up, and you slap that freaking globe back in the water, and it makes a shit ton of noise, and Max is trying to get the fish to come back, and I go, Brian, take your fucking bait out of the water. It was pissing me off.
Well, I mean, come on. In my defense, I mean that
Walk us through that
globe
process.
has some crazy metals. I can't remember. I mean, the guy at the show that we bought it from explained the type of metal. It makes a crazy noise, and he sold me on. He's a salesman. He said it pisses off fish, and I'm thinking like, all right, it's a
It
fish
fucking pissed me off.
it's a fish that wants to eat,
There's no
but it's not
piss.
eating. So I'm putting the globe in there and seeing like, all right, he's gonna shoot
It
off.
was wanting to eat that
Deck me.
bait so bad.
To
Man.
be fair, I don't think the globe affected it. The fish was seeing red.
Sure.
Probably what happened. I'm not gonna point names, name
What?
fingers, but we'll see. We'll see.
Here's the deal.
What?
I know what Brian's trying to say right now, and he's feeling defensive. He's backed into a corner by you and I right now, Gus. He's got we're coming at him for his glide bait usage. We're coming at him for, fucking up my figure 8 fish. So he's trying to say, he's not going to say it, but I know what he's trying to say is that I botched the 8.
It's early in the year. I mean, everybody's rusty.
It's just dancing around it.
Oh,
man.
say it with your chest, man.
No,
Say it with your chest.
Hey,
No,
a lot more fish in the sea for you this year. You're gonna have a great year.
no,
All right, quick-
go ahead, Gus.
Quick sidebar, Brian. Then Max, go for it. Were they going on topwater this weekend?
Mm.
They were not, but I don't think I gave it a fair chance.
Oh, really? Because
Oh.
that's probably the
Huh.
most consistent bait you threw all weekend.
If there was one bait you had on for the longest time, it was that fucking globe.
The loudest
Yeah.
goddamn topwater bait ever made in
I'm
the history
determined
of
to catch one
topwater.
on it. I think later in the
Oh,
summer,
it's great.
that thing's
Oh,
gonna
gee,
clean.
man, I can't wait. I hope whoever you're fishing with gets you close to one because
Doesn't need to be
It
close.
happens
They can hear it
quick.
across the lake.
Oh,
nice
great.
peaceful, Saturday evening enjoying the nature. The sun's going down.
It does sound, it sounds like a choo-choo train out there.
Like, all right, we can maybe put that one back in the box for a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, Brian's, probably right. I could have caught that fish. So I'll go hand
Hey,
up.
we're moving on. We're moving
I'll
on.
go hand up.
We're onward.
Yeah. With my figure 8s were less than superb this weekend, you could say. But yeah, you're right. It's early. All right, so Sunday, Gus, You
Yeah.
took us on a
No.
little adventure.
Hey. Whoa, 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 whoa,
Oh,
whoa,
oh,
whoa.
oh, my bad, my bad,
Whoa,
my
whoa,
bad. I'm
whoa,
burying the
whoa,
lead. I'm
whoa,
burying the
whoa.
lead. I'm sorry about that.
Saturday, Brian talked about that long day we put in with a minor short 3.5 hour break in the middle. We did fish into the night on
Right,
Saturday. We
right, right,
wanted to
right.
do a little night fishing. We fished until about 10:45, 11, towards the end of that major. Or wait, when did we go till? Either
About
way, we went until the major was
11.
done. Um,
No,
11 something.
we didn't
And
last the major.
We
oh,
cut it
that's
like
right.
15 minutes early, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
30,
right.
30 minutes early.
Um, but no, we felt good. We had those fish waypointed. We had a stretch of, and all those fish that we moved before sunset were basically on one single stretch. So we're like, we're gonna circle around and pretty much do this entire thing, and we're gonna go slow. Move the boat at about point 0.3, point 0.4, and just everybody huck in the area, and go to small to medium sized baits that you could move slow and keep higher up. So we had some swimming dogs going. I moved to a jointed crankbait, and unfortunately, I had a little bit of some battery issues going on. My graphs were losing voltage, and so we went into not only darkness, luckily on a lake I know really well, but we also went fully dark. Graphs were all black. We were running on nothing but lights from houses and basically the feel on where the spot was, and every once in a while turning the light on to make sure we weren't in the mess of weeds and move back out a little bit if need be. So I did end up getting like a low to mid 30s ish incher in the figure eight, pitch black, everything black, graphs black. And that was pretty wicked awesome. I mean, there was literally just a tiny little tint from the stern light, the white light in the back, where I did the second turn, and as I was going out, I just see like the white of the mouth. And I mean, I only had this crankbait probably on the turn, maybe 4 inches under the water, and I could just see the mouth kind of open on it, pushing the water through it, and just enclose on over half of the bait. And I'm like, oh hell yeah, it's on. It's just all hell breaks loose. It's like flat calm, and so that was pretty sick. That was a good way to end somewhat of a grind for opening day. And but no, we decided to call it. It was getting really cold, and I didn't know how much longer we could really truly run the spot effectively with zero graphs, and just wanted to be kind of safe and get back. So, and we wanted to get up pretty early and head out on Sunday, which Sunday was even another day of a brand new lake, and the second lake that day was also fairly new to me. So big time exploring. And we got out there, and basically I did a little scouting there, and I saw some fish spawning on some wooded shoreline and whatnot, and I kind of made a note in my head and graphed out some of the structure in the lake that wasn't shoreline related, and basically we got out there and started running the shoreline of where those fish were spawning, just hoping that they'd maybe hang around there, and we didn't see a single thing. Um, Nobody moved a single fish, didn't side image a single fish. It felt pretty good in the morning. It seemed like there was a morning bite every day, and lo and behold, it was correct. So we drove off the shoreline, and we passed over a rock bar that I actually didn't mark out very well, and it looked good. And all of a sudden, we see a pile of bait on the mud to sand transition. And I'm like, oh, okay. This lake's a little bit ahead of the curve. These fish have pushed out. Absolutely. They've spawned, and I think they pushed out. So I'm like, let's go to this other bar I know I have mapped out, and let's kind of roll in there. So we stop in the farthest deep end and just slowly get into it. And I switched to Twitch 7.5 inch grandma in the TRO Gus color. I love that shine, that shimmy of that like kind of white gold with the orange belly, black top. In the sunshine, it looked really good. Started twitching that thing around, and it's still pretty darn calm. And we just get up on the rocks, and I don't think that bar tops out more at most maybe 14 feet, maybe 13 or 15. I can't remember, but it was fairly deep, and twitching that grandma. I don't know. I think that gets only maybe 4 or 5 feet down, and about 20 feet out, I just see this fish just completely roll on it and totally miss. I think I twitched it through it trying to hit, and I shout out to the guys like, oh, here we go. And right as I say that, that fish comes flying back and just totally grabs it on the slack line after that twitch, and I just lay into it, and I thought like, oh, it just came up and engulfed it, and totally got this thing, and said fish, fish, and as we were all scrambling, it was still pretty early in the morning. It was only the second spot. We didn't have the net quite ready, which has nothing to do with this. And as I'm thinking about that, I look back and this fish is, I mean, it's beak hooked. It's literally got one little single back hook on the grandma on its lower jaw. And immediately I'm like, uh-oh, this ain't good. It starts doing some gnarly twists and turns, and it gets maybe within 10 feet of the boat. It's going like slow motion because it's still cold water early in the year, and she rolls the wrong way and pops off. And that was the biggest fish hooked of the weekend. It was probably in that 45, 46-ish range, and that was a heartbreaker. That was the start to a couple heartbreaks for me over the weekend. But yeah, that kind of solidified that game plan. We were like, all right, they're not doing this thing, so let's keep running the program of the secondary structure. Pretty much everything that's not shoreline related, anything that juts out into the lake or isn't connected to shore, let's just start bombarding it, whether it's the tops of these or the edges of these suspended on the mud to sand transitions or gravel or rock or whatever we can find out there, wood. And that's where the bait was, and that's where the fish were. And we found a whole pile of fish, and they were going on a whole variety of lures, which is why I was saying earlier, Brian, I give you the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't exactly a glide scenario. Although I could see one of those fish suspended shooting straight up for a glide. It was a lot of water to cover.
Yeah, I could see
Um,
that happening too, like in hindsight, but like I don't know. I don't know if any of us would have confidence in
I don't
20,
know if I
15 to
would.
25 feet of water throwing a glide. I mean, we were moving enough on, faster presentations, so never really came to mind. But was my fish next in this order?
No, Max's
Oh yeah,
was
sorry, Max.
the
Yeah.
biggest of the weekend. We went back to the shoreline. We pulled off, and I saw the bait, and we're like, all right, we'll come back to this later. I just drove right over the top of it, maybe save it. And I think we went back there next, if I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken. And because we knew the depth we were fishing, I think that's probably why you decided to throw on a Ninja too. But if you want to explain your reasoning, Max, on that, on going no blade.
Yeah, I don't know. The no blade thing for me, it just felt it was just calling my name, I guess. I don't know if there's really too much behind it. I mean, I think early season, for whatever reason, I remember you having some success with tubes without blades.
Mm-hmm.
I would say up to this weekend, a majority of my tube fish have all been on tubes with trailer blades in some capacity. So that was kind of where I had more confidence. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, when you're fishing over weeds with tubes, that blade is nice because it has the drag and slows the fall a little bit. And it's easier to keep that tube up. Whereas when you're fishing kind of these deeper rock bars, the no blade, that tube's able to kind of dance around a lot better. Those kind of sharp head drops, up rips, you can kind of just play around with it. And I just kind of wanted a natural presentation. It was a little bit cleaner, clear water. And I knew we were kind of casting up to call it anywhere from on this spot like 10, 8 to 10 feet. And then it was kind of working it off that break, down to probably 15. I don't know if my tube ever really got below like call it 8 to 10 feet ever. I was working
I
it
don't
pretty
think so.
consistently. I never
Yeah.
really let it drop, or I wasn't really working it down the break. I just kind of always wanted to keep it like right at that visibility line. And even in like if you see, watching back in my head cam footage, like a lot of my times I was bringing that tube in, it was like kind of coming into the view right at about 10 feet away from the boat, coming up out of that visibility line. It was right there on the edge. And so I just loved the way the depth was on that bait. And obviously, I just have a lot of confidence in tubes. We were on a new lake, and you kind of just go to like your ultra confidence baits when you're fishing new
Hmm.
water. So yeah, I mean, I think we had fished the spot and we had driven over this rock bar because you hadn't even mapped it out yet, and you're like, wow, this
I
comes
didn't
up
know it topped out. I thought it topped out at like 15 and ended up topping out at 8 or
like
10 or
eight,
something like
yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
so we worked around it, and this goes to show too, like actually working spots the right way can literally be the
Oh my
difference of
God.
catching a fish and not catching a fish. Because we literally went through like right over the top of that fish. We circled back around, and I think we were gonna pull out and go to the next spot, and I was like, we should just work the shallow spot we went right over with the boat, but out further. And you were like, okay, sounds good. And it was like literally 3 casts later, we were casting up to that rock bar, like pretty much landing our baits where our boat was on the first pass through.
Hmm.
And that's the spot that that fish came off of. And I might have gotten a little bit too excited, thought it was an absolute giant. But it was a
To be
really nice fish.
fair, you set the hook, and in the footage you can see almost within a few seconds of you setting the hook, it's going broadside. It's twirling out there. It's about, what, 30, 40 feet from the boat, or probably 40 feet from the boat, and
Mhm.
it's looking big. It's, when it's
Sunny
illuminating the
day
water
and
with
that
the
clear
sun.
water. Yeah.
Yeah. And you brought him over the trolling motor, and as soon as you're in the front at the bow of the boat, and as soon as you're walking it around, instead of it thrashing on the surface, it's already digging more and more.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, we're working with the real one here.
Yeah, and it was a real one. I mean, it was a 43, built super thick, head to tail, just a really nice fish, super spunky. But yeah, it took me for a ride, man. I mean, that fish was
Hmm.
was super healthy and
Couple of them did this weekend. They'd make you run around the boat. Started
yeah.
making funny like a little kid chasing this thing.
I know. It kind of became a theme. I don't know what these fish yeah, they were not doing what I wanted them to do when they were getting by the boat. They were diving the wrong ways. They were going crazy. So, I mean, it was just fun. The first nice sized fish of the year, obviously the one down at Cave was caught jigging and was a little bit smaller, but you're also right there next to the boat already. So it's like you don't have that, this one hit way out on the cast, you're bringing it in, you're just like, holy crap, how big could this thing be? And not to mention, I mean, you had just lost like a 45, 46. So we're new lake, we're thinking, man, is this place
Right.
just the land of giants or what's going on here?
Yeah, we had
Um,
no idea. I did not see, like, literally the fish that you caught was maybe the biggest I saw spawning. I maybe saw one in like the 41, 42 range. So I
yeah.
had no idea what the potential was. I thought maybe I'm like, oh, it's just a numbers deal with, a couple around the 40 mark, and most of the fish I saw were 35 to 38 or so. And I literally had no idea. I don't have any knowledge about the lake at all, but man, definitely happy we went there. And no, I was gonna point out, Max, actually, your all your fish this year on rubber. You had red October tubes, swim fin, and swimming dog. So
Yeah,
the rubber
true.
master.
Yeah. Yeah. It's they've all been some
Fucking
really
rub.
they've all been some really good bites too. Um
That's good.
no, no, not all of them have been on rubber.
Which one wasn't?
The one on Saturday night was on swimming dog. Oh, that is rubber. Was it blade?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was on
Oh.
a swimming dog, dog.
Yeah. God, no. Jesus
Hey, you with
Christ.
us here?
Jesus
Hey.
Christ.
So,
Um yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, we bagged that one. We felt really good. That was the first of that day. So we're like, okay, they're on. I mean, we lose a big one, catch a big one, and our first two contacts are eat. So we're like, okay, this is really solid. All we have to do is just run across another. That's kind of what it felt like. And I don't was it maybe a spot or two? Did it take a second? Do we have to kind of rotate around some of those
Yeah,
spots?
yeah,
And
we did, and we hit a few spots between the one you lost and the
yeah,
one
we
I caught
did.
too. We were
That's
kind of
right.
figuring the lake out. I think we ended up going back to the spot that you had lost one though.
We
Uh,
did. And that's when
yeah,
Brian had a wild creation come to life over this winter. And my God, I didn't think you'd catch a fish on that until July, but you got her done in frickin' May.
Yeah, you just
Walk us
doubted me
through
too
this
much.
creation.
Well,
What was going through your head?
I mean,
Go
this
back
all
to that
started,
podcast.
yeah, this all started back when we had Mr. Brad Hoppy on. I was unaware that you could customize a bucktail on his website. So I customized an electric bunny. It was,
Junior
I think it's,
Cowgirl.
yeah, so 9.9
Yep, double
blades.
nines. Yeah.
It is marabou. It's half pink marabou, half purple marabou. It's got some silver flashabou in it, and then it's got a pink shiny blade and a purple shiny size 9 blade. And we've always heard from people that like, oh, they love pink. They love pink out there, oh, I always throw pink, and we've like never had a pink bait really.
I say that
So
about so many lakes, and it
Yeah, it
just
wasn't out there. We never heard of
was
that
actually
about
other
this lake.
lakes. It
no,
was
no,
other
yeah,
lakes.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying in general. But like we've never had
Yeah.
Oh.
pink bait, so I was like, all right, I gotta try this. Like we've heard people talk about it. I don't know if they can see pink or not, but whatever. So, I like gaudy baits. Get this thing, and I brought my winter collection of whatever it is, like 7 baits, up north with me for opener. Rifled through them all fairly quickly. Didn't think it was really a bucktail bite, but every 20 minutes
I
I'm
surely
trying
didn't.
something new. And we had seen with Gus's fish that he lost and with Max's catch, like fish in deep water, but these things are going to come up from, probably 8 to 10 feet below the bait and crush it. They weren't scared to shoot up. So I clipped that sucker on. At this point, like I feel like we might have had another follow or something at the time. Like we felt like the fish
Graph
were,
follow. Side image
yeah,
for sure.
like we had felt like the fish were pretty fired up. And so I was like, all
Mhm.
right, nobody was throwing blades, clip this sucker on. Super visible, the bright sun, it was shining all over the place in the water. And it was funny because Max, I can't remember the exact convo, but I think Max was giving me a hard time about clipping on the blade. And what did you say? You're like, oh, they just hit a tube. They just crushed my tube. Like we have a bunch of tubes. Why don't you clip this on? I think you were trying to give me the tube that you had just caught one on.
You
I was
were,
taking a
yeah.
break. I was
Yeah,
taking a
yeah.
break, and I was
Yeah,
like,
and
"Why don't
he's
you throw this bait that literally just worked?"
Yeah, and I've heard that a million times, right? It's nice advice, very nice of you to, reach a hand out. I think I had said back to Max, I'm like, Max, there's a million other tubes in the boat. If I want to throw a tube, I'd clip a tube on. I said, like, I'm trying to pave my own path here. I'm gonna, make some other lure great. And
You said you're a trendsetter.
yeah, I'm
Those were your
setting a
words.
trend with this electric bunny. And
You're setting a trend with double nines in May in
yep,
56-degree water temperature,
yeah, I mean, everybody had the right to question me. It was very,
pitching over a
unconventional.
15 to 17-foot rock bar.
Very unconventional play. And we're Max and I are bickering back and forth. And
That's an
but
understatement.
do you remember what I said like as I'm reeling it in or
You just
something?
said, if guys, you're pretty much you're getting sick of Gus and I hounding you about your
Yeah.
bait choice because at this point, this is the day after you've thrown the clickety clack, top
Yeah,
water
yeah,
bait for
yeah.
4 hours too long. And I'm sitting here thinking you are gonna love the look of this bait and you're not gonna want to take it off and you're gonna be casting in, a foot of the water column and 15 feet of water and you're gonna do it for 3 hours and not see a fish and then you're gonna start getting pissed.
Okay, okay.
And
That's what
okay, so I'm giving you a hard time. Gus is giving you a hard time. And I
Oh
think your
yeah.
words are, guys, if I don't get it done, I don't get it
oh
done.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if I don't get it done, I don't get it done. I huck it out there. And
Oh,
no,
it
no,
hit as
yeah.
you said it.
I'm reeling it in. I'm reeling it in. And Max is still yapping back there, sitting down. And I'm like, look, if I don't get it done, I don't get it done. And like within a second, I get crushed halfway out in the cast. I'm like, oh, got it, fish on. And yeah, I mean, it was a 38 incher that absolutely inhaled the whole bucktail.
It
Like
did to the blades.
teeth up to
You
the
had-
blades.
yeah.
And Electric Bunny was 1 for 1 on cast, so it was a good investment. Shout out to
Hey,
Brad.
and who was the happiest guy in the boat for you?
I mean, you were, but I think everybody was. It's just hilarious timing.
We're all so pumped up that we got a freaking fish on blades. We didn't last year at all. We didn't even raise a fish on blades, and then we got them going this year. We got one, at least. Nothing on single blades. I don't think we moved a fish on single blades,
No,
but
but it
yeah, we
did
were pumped for you.
kind of started a trend because
We
our
did.
buddy Jack, who was on the boat, was also kind of in the same mindset as me, like kind of, lost. What do I throw here? I haven't had a ton of action today. He went deep into the box, searching the bucktail box, and he found whatever it's called, the monster wood tick. I don't know if that has a special name.
It's not a wood tick. I think he calls it like the base jumper. It's like super
Yeah,
heavy. You chuck it
but
out and straight retrieve it, and I think it immediately will go down deeper
yeah.
than like
It
a
was
normal
running at
bucktail.
about 8 to 10 feet, I would
Yeah,
say.
and Jack
Yeah,
pulls it out. He's kind of like, "What the hell is this thing?" And Max is like, "Oh, like that actually might be good. I got it from Minnesota. It's a deep blade." So Jack's like, "All right." So it was in like a walleye color gold. And I think I don't know. We probably hit one more spot after I caught mine. Jack's still throwing it and moves an absolute mega of a fish. That
freaking
followed him.
beast.
Yeah, followed him up into the eight. I think I don't remember. I feel like he was pulling his bait out of the water or something. Like he had just finished his eight and it caught him off guard, and he shot up at it and then kind of took
Yeah,
off.
it was
Um,
windy.
yeah, so he caught a glimpse of it, and he's like, "That was a big fish." And then I think like 3 to 5 casts later, I was still throwing the electric bunny, and I moved it, brought it up to like the visibility line, probably 10 feet from the boat, and then it just kind of like sunk and swam under the boat. Never saw it again that day. But well, I mean, that gave us a lot of hope about blades, and I guess if you look ahead at the end of the weekend, we didn't catch another one on blades, but whatever that bite window was, they liked what we were throwing.
That was a bite window. I just realized in my head that was actually after you caught the one on blades, we finished that rock bar, and I'm like, let's go putt putt over here. And I saw that edge slide out and like a couple rocks, and then clean as day with just suspended off the bottom, marked that fish, threw down a waypoint, just did a full Yui, and we took a couple casts, and that's when Jack's like, all right, here she is. It was a beast. It was like unnoticeable on side on how big it was, but that goes to show sometimes those marks just aren't what they are until you either see them or catch them. So that was pretty cool. Um, no, I think we continued on for a little bit. We were kind of having a decision basically. We had a bunch of hungry stomachs. We did not get the lunch we should have. But we kind of just were like okay with going out to eat. And we had a decision to make if we wanted to just come right back here after lunch, but we decided to actually save it and go back there again the next morning and go somewhere else afterwards. So with that, we wanted to hit like one or two last bars out there,
That
and
we that
that's when I
we
had
that we
a
hadn't like it was a pretty prominent bar. We hadn't been able to fish it all morning because there's another boat out there kind
yeah,
of
he was
claiming that
fishing a good bit.
territory for its own. So when he left, and we
Like
were
we
gonna
gotta
hit one
try
more
that.
spot before lunch, yeah, slid over there.
Yeah, and I think I was because we were going. I mean, we just talked through a lot of action, and I haven't gotten any since the fish I lost on the grandma. And I knew that maybe like rubber was still a good option, but I wanted to get one on some sort of jerk bait. So I threw on a suic I really like that you can throw on the custom weights to it, a high impact, and I had it weighted neutrally buoyant with the absolute tiniest, slightest rise. I mean, I think it rises like up 1 foot every, I don't know, 17 seconds or something. I mean, it's barely rising, and I'm twitching that thing around, and I'll probably end up putting that video out in a short few days or something like that. Crazy, the fish just totally miscalculated. If it, in slow motion, I gave it a twitch up to the boat. I have no idea this fish is here. It totally shot up vertical, and you can see it just fly up with its mouth open from like 7 feet from the bait, just going after it, going after it, going after it, and the bait just didn't quite get to where he wanted to eat it. It happened so fast, and he totally missed it. And I was doing my next instinctual jerk of the suic, and what actually happened is the fish missed it and was still below it, and it curled up, and I actually hit the bait right into the back of that fish, and I went, I had a moment of being a good human, and I did not jerk it extra hard. I told the guys after it went back down, I'm like, I could have caught that fish, but if I caught it, my hooks would have been in the back of it.
Been a hell of a fight.
But we got to see, right? We got to see firsthand. I know it's happened to many people out there. Like you swear you got hit, and then you set the hook, and all of a sudden you bring back in a fish that's snagged, but you have no idea how or why. Um,
I did that
you got
years ago.
literally, yeah, literally GoPro footage of right at our feet. This fish just totally miscalculating the bait, and the bait getting jerked right into the back on accident. So
And you never
that'll
would
be
have
kind
felt
of
that
some.
fish if you didn't see it.
No,
I
no,
mean,
would have had no idea it
maybe a
hit.
hair,
I would have
like
felt the hooks into the back,
right,
whatever. But it
right.
trying to eat, no,
No.
no way, zero chance. So that was kind of a at the time a bummer way to end the morning shift, and decided to literally just jut out to the tip of the bar, skirt down 180 to the back side of the bar. It was pretty narrow, and just bomb cast to the other side. And then I just got absolutely annihilated on the Suic out in the cast like 4 minutes later. Totally redeemed myself and thought it was a different fish. Turns out that that fish was totally fine with missing the bait. Looked back at the footage and it was the same fish. So did end up
Crazy.
catching that fish that thought totally got away. And that was nice. That one was like just shy of 40 with a weird hump in its back. But that was pretty cool. Great way to end the morning. Got lunch. Um, had a good time there. Kind of watched a little bit of the hockey game that was on. You know, they had that earlier on the Sunday, and then we went back to another lake that I've been to only a couple times and really haven't contacted a ton of fish. Honestly, just had it in the back of my mind, like, hey, maybe there's some nice fish in there, or maybe it's a numbers deal. I have no idea. I literally got out there and I'm like, you guys are gonna really like this lake. It's gonna look cool. And he kept asking, he's like, how many have you seen out here? I'm like, well, I've been out here twice, caught each time, but they're small and only saw like one other. So realistically, not a ton of action, but we went in that night and got more action than I've ever seen out of it too. So that was actually kind of cool. I mean, Jack lost a fish on a sandcat in like the first, I don't know,
5 minutes,
9, 10 minutes or
10 minutes.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like a mid 30s that came screaming out of the water and shook the bait. But we're like, all right, that's a good start, good sign. Max had a fish up pretty hot on a swimming dog that for some reason didn't go. I don't know how that fish didn't want to eat. It came screaming in.
Hmm.
Um, but then we kind of just moseyed around and struggled to find a couple more fish, and then we found the nursery and emerging lily pads area, just a classic, you know, shallow bay. We decided to find some shallow stuff and see if maybe that's where some of the smaller fish were, and luck into a big one, and that's where definitely the smaller fish were. You got that one on the swimming dog, I had one up on a big action glider, and then Brian, did you have like that one up that Max
Yeah,
had it up as
yeah.
well? It
You were
was
paying
twice.
attention. It was the one that you were pretty locked in on.
I'm trying to remember
Oh boy.
what I was throwing.
You're throwing I think a single blade. Oh, you're throwing your little beetle spin.
Your musky beetle spin.
Enticer.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
enticer.
Enticer, yeah, big grub spinner.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was all in like a 50-yard stretch.
You
And then
modded it.
yeah, I did mod it. That's right. Hey, that mod almost paid
Hey,
off.
hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, it's almost
Forgot
like
about
if you were
that.
paying attention to your bait, you might have been able to catch that fish.
No, it wasn't that. I was
I
looking
was in
at
the
it. It
back
came
of the boat.
flying
I
in
had
and
no
just took
idea.
off.
I didn't know he had a chance to catch
I
it.
thought I remember you going, "Oh shoot!" and
No,
then
no, no. It came in and then sunk back towards Gus's. I remember yelling at Gus. But I don't know. That was weird. It was right by a little creek inlet, kind of. I don't know if it was an inflow or outflow, but we continued around like the whole bay, and it was dead after that. So we found like three or four of them in a 50-yard stretch, submerging lilies, and then the rest of the bay, same exact cover. I didn't see a fish.
yeah,
So
one other boat on the lake that we were fishing sniffed that out too and went and cleaned up. I think all the other
yeah,
fish we
all those
moved.
little 30
We
inchers.
were gonna go back there for a little bit during I think the night minor, and we're like, "Oh, their boat hasn't moved in a long time." And
Yeah. I think it was pretty quiet the rest of the night. We slipped out to a little mid-lake structure. I think kind of a rock hump, similar to what we were fishing earlier in the day in a different lake. Um, but Gus was throwing a Suic, I believe. Got
Yeah.
absolutely rocked. Close to boat
Jacks
size. Is that
off.
correct?
Yeah, jacks off fish porpoise and we shoot it after it and Max and Brian were totally checked out. It was just Jack and I fishing. It was a mid-lake spot, and then we saw one porpoise, and bloop, here comes Brian and Max up to the boat. We're running four deep on one side. Anyways,
Saw what
then
happened.
and then Max
Shout out.
supposedly thought he actually maybe think he saw something, but he did say out loud, "Who's gonna get lucky?" And as he said that, I get throttled, set the hook, and yell, "Me!" And it comes off, and immediately go, "Fuck!" so, so that all happened in like 4 seconds, and right afterwards, Max goes, "I have a confession. I think I maybe saw that fish when I pulled my bait out the previous cast or whatever. Like I thought I saw a flash or whatever. Because
Yeah.
that was yeah,
That was
I
a
was
nice
pretty
fish,
certain
though.
it followed me or Jack in, and I saw the fish, the glow, turn off right as I was getting done saying who's gonna get lucky. And I was kind of, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty delirious. So,
sure,
a few
yeah,
lunch beers, um, in the mix, lack of
couple
sleep,
boat beers.
couple boat beers, you know. So, yeah, I thought I saw that fish actually follow in and turn off about 10 feet out, and right as kind of what I was thinking in my head, that's when you said that you got hit. I was like, oh, well, that definitely adds up. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was a unfortunate one. Gus, you had, a couple unfortunate hook sets there too. Or really just probably unfortunate the way those fish ate the baits, because it really seemed like you got some good wood into both of those fish.
yep.
Just
Doesn't end there, though, unfortunately.
oh, it
Nope, yeah.
doesn't.
I'm assuming we're
No.
talking about rolling into Monday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we might as well do that. So yeah, uneventful Sunday night. We packed her in before sunset. We wanted to get back and hang out with the family and,
we
and
were
watch the
dead
end of the
tired.
yeah, and we were dead tired too, but we wanted to hang out with the rents and say hey to them and not be just totally MIA all weekend. So I mean we love musky fishing, but we had to wrap her up. And since it was a shorter day on Monday, I know we still kind of wanted to get up really early, so if we stayed out too late, it would have burned us out. So got her up early and went back to where we were Sunday morning, and then we just got right into it and started right back on those rock bars. We didn't even want to mess with the shallow water. I forget. Did it take a minute, or did it take a bar or two, or
Mm,
was it
I
fairly quick?
Yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty quick. I think timestamp's 9 a.m.
Oh,
Um,
never mind. It would happen quick.
It
yeah.
was
Max
30
got
minutes.
yeah, Max got his at 7:52. Does that sound right? Or 8:52?
I have 9:15, but I
Hold
mean,
on.
I think
Yeah,
it was still our first spot.
Second,
9:15.
yeah, second, I
We
think.
s- we started at 8:30. I think it was our second spot, and we're right around there, 8:20, 8:30. And yeah, you since we had luck on rubber, I think that's probably why you decided to use a swim fin because it's got amazing action and give that thing some runtime. I don't think we really did too much. Um, but yeah, you got absolutely rocked out there. A nice like 40 incher. Dogged you pretty good. Got one in that in the bag for a nice grip and grin. Brian liked to use that term all weekend.
Yeah.
Get you a little grip and grin.
I was
Yeah.
kind of mad at myself for not using the swim fin more the day before, but I think I just got pretty caught up on using that tube since it
Yeah.
worked early on, and then
Yeah.
obviously I didn't get another one out there, so I was like, you know what? I'm throwing the swim fin today. Not that he needs it anymore any more orders or anything, but goddamn, that bait's freaking sweet.
It's
And
legit. So
it's
legit.
legit. It's legit. Action's outstanding. I was super impressed with that head drop and the tail still wiggling when the head was dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's you'd think as a swim bait you just reel it in straight. You can't do that with, I mean, you could, but that bait looks so good when it's hopped, popped, ripped, whatever you want to do with it. It doesn't blow out. It's super solid. And the one thing, Gus, we were talking about with that bait is, I mean, we'll get into yours too, but like my fish completely destroyed it, and that rubber was like unharmed.
I
The
know it's
whole bait
crazy.
was in that fish's mouth, for a time being, and there wasn't a scratch on it. So I don't know what the hell
It's
he's using to pour with, but Jesus Christ, it's
it's
tough to get.
soft and works really well through the water, has a ton of action, but yet it's so tough because just later in the morning, we were hugging a rock bar tight, and I saw a little dot on the old side image, and I kind of when I turned the boat, I saw it pop up again, like I don't know, it seemed like maybe 5, 10 feet further or closer. I'm like, okay, that's obviously a fish. It's not a rocks don't move. And I was just getting done eating a sandwich. I think it was my first cast. And I had the swim fin at the time. I think it was enough time through that you kind of got done throwing it or set it to the side and wanted to try something else. So I figured why the hell not and threw it out there and got absolutely demolished fairly close to the boat, probably just after halfway, I guess.
I just want
But
to
I think a
say, I
little.
was eating lunch and I was like, "Do you want to throw the swim fin?" I was ready to throw
Okay.
that thing the rest of the day.
Yeah, fair. But got rocked and I saw, got towards the boat and it was shaking. The whole bait was hanging out of its mouth, but I totally thought I had it quarter pocketed and it was head shaking, barrel rolling, doing all this crazy stuff. I walk it kind of around the motor back to where I normally am fishing out of that side of the boat and as I'm about to walk it towards more of the front of the boat, it does a 180 and starts digging down, and then keeps turning back to the right and totally gets that bait on the wrong side of where I'm pulling, and then I'm pretty much in a dilemma of like, do I just totally cross it over and move my rod tip rather than keep walking it to the right? Do I go back to the left and move the rod tip and possibly lose it? That's what's going through my head, and I just stand my ground and hold that rod tip down to the right, and it just does this crazy barrel roll torpedo and pops. And it's an olive, a nice like low 40s, possibly better fish. At least it was thick for sure. Could have been better. It was a really nice fish, and there
Well,
continues on my losing fish for the weekend. So
I did get
had the
footage of that one too, so we could really put a montage together of your
easy now.
mishaps around the boat there.
Yeah,
That'd be a good video. I'd
yeah.
watch that.
Appreciate it, guys.
I'd watch
Appreciate
that a
it.
lot.
Yeah.
No.
Have something to send you to, and your head's getting big later in the year.
Yeah.
Hmm. Got to get humbled from the start,
Uh-huh.
Iowa was good to me. Um, yeah, I don't know.
I
That
am
sure was just unfortunate. I don't
I'm
know how that one got
amazed.
off.
Like last opener, we crushed fish on a swimming dog too. This opener, swimming dog worked, and then the swim fin, a new bait this year, but still same sort of idea. Swim bait, paddle tail. It's kind of crazy that those types of baits are so productive, especially like early in the season, really throughout the summer, and then I think with the extra head weight on the swim fin, it's going to be lethal, like especially in the fall, when the fish
Yeah,
are off structure, kind of out deeper. But I don't know. It's weird. It's not like, I mean, neither of those baits are like the
I'm not
flashiest on
sure.
paper, but whatever it is, the fish
No.
love them.
I mean, the swimming dog's got unmatched wiggle and wobble when you're straight retrieving it and whatnot. I mean, that's literally how it shines. And then the swim fin is 100% a rip pause bait. I mean, it just it doesn't have the action when you straight retrieve it. You can definitely catch fish doing that, but I think you got to rip that bait. I mean, that bait looks just so good, ripped around and slackline popped, up rips, you name it. Don't just do this the basic slow
Sweeps.
sweeps to the right. Give it some damn pops, and you're gonna see that thing absolutely crush fish. I think it's gonna be a top producer in our boat. I mean, I'm for sure gonna throw it with confidence. I'm not gonna just throw it just because we want to catch fish on it. I'm throwing it also because it's I think truly going to crush fish. So that's going to be in the heavy rotation of, what's typically a bulldog, Deusa, or tube, Red October tube, and then swim fin is right up there with ripping rubber in the summer and fall and spring. Anytime it's already shined and proven itself in cold water. So, um, yeah, I think the reason you caught your second fish of the morning, Max, on the tube was probably because I was throwing the swim fin. At that point,
Mhm.
I kind of had it stolen. So you threw on that trusty Ninja Red October, no blade again, and we finally went to a rock bar. We fished so many times over the 2 times we fished that lake and never even sniffed a fish. And what do you say? It was just in the video we just posted.
Ain't no way there's not a fish on on this bar.
Facts. There was a fish on that bar. And it went freaking just maniac against that tube and the figure eight. Well, on like your pops to the outside corner,
Hmm.
right in the sun. You can even see with the polarized lens and the GoPro how little you could see up there with the sun glare. No clue. Just
Yeah,
popped up from vertical.
no idea. And yeah, that was a sweet fish, sweet. That one got my heart going, and it was a good one to end on. And yeah, really the only other highlight from that day was we did end up moving that behemoth fish again. Um, and Brady's
Hmm.
getting a lot of love on this podcast tonight, but that was actually on a Bam Bam. And
Yeah, Bowfin Jr.
that was probably, I don't know if we'll ever release the video of it. It's not really not like that worth it. You can see the fish really good. It's cool. It's a giant Northwoods fish. It's built like a ship brick house. But that was like the perfect example of when you're looking at your lure and not behind your lure as it's coming into the figure eight.
Hmm.
Um, I think if I was looking behind the lure, I would have had a better chance to catch that fish. I think you see in the video, you can actually hear me as my arm goes out to start my turn. I say, "Oh, there it is." And as I'm turning back into the fish. I still had a split second to reverse track and keep the bait moving away from the fish. But again, early season, giant fish kind of just panicked and was like, "Oh, I got to reset it up for him." And then he came up kind of quicker. He was pretty far behind it and slow. And then actually, when I saw him, he kind of came up quick. And as I started to try to reset the eight to bring it back out in front of him, I just drug it right across his nose. And he like did just a freaking 180. And he was like, "Nope, that's not a real bait fish." And swam back
Yeah.
down.
He
Um,
could. He wasn't gonna be fooled. That's a smart fish right there.
Yeah, so I guess that'd be my tip, just something to keep in mind. I think it's really it's one of those things where it's like kind of a no duh, but when you're fishing for such a long time and you're kind of just messing around, you're like, oh, this bait looks cool in the water, and next thing you know, there's a 4-footer looking at it.
Hmm.
You're usually not super prepared for when that happens if you're doing what I was doing. So good
Yeah.
little lesson learned for me there. I'll definitely take that one with me and bring it to the next time I get out and musky fish. Hopefully I'll be better for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I mean, that's why we film, honestly. Like you can see your mistakes. I mean, I make a ton. I don't even want to know how many mistakes I do that are on film that fish aren't behind the lure and will never see the light of day because they're not saved for any reason. So it
Right.
definitely kind of humbles yourself and keeps you in check on really truly what you can do to put yourself in a better situation to catch these fish because you throw enough lures, you put enough time in, you fish enough good spots, good lakes, you're gonna run across some fish and run across some really big fish and you gotta be ready. So and it's early season, we're rusty, but I think we shook the rust off pretty well this weekend. Unfortunately, gotta throw him under the bus slightly with this. Unfortunately, Jack didn't quite shake off all the rust.
Ooh.
He was the
Shout
max.
out.
He was the 2024
Hey,
opener max this
hey, come
weekend
on.
where he
Come
got
on.
skunked.
Come on.
Sorry,
Damn.
dog.
Forgot about that.
Did you?
Why?
Did you
Yeah,
though?
why?
Yeah.
Oh man.
No.
Catching
But
strays over there.
that
Max
was a
killed it
fan
this weekend.
yeah, yeah. That was an absolutely fantastic weekend and we're gonna keep the recording going. We can wrap up our things, but I'm gonna send out this link to Clayton Spiess and whenever he hops on, he's live. And we're gonna get this
Blatant
thing rolling.
speech.
We are gonna talk about the Green Bay Northern Wisconsin opener and see how the boys did down there in Green Bay. Spoiler alert, a lot of fish got caught. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to the podcast. We got Clayton Spiess, Musky Clayton. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Solid.
good, man.
Terrific.
Look at that mustache. That thing is insane.
Dude. Yeah.
That's wicked awesome. No, we're excited to have you on here. We had to get basically our fourth member of the Muskies on Tap podcast back on. It felt like it's been a little bit, and you got on the water for opener, but you were in a different section of the state. You're on the old mighty Green Bay, so we wanted to get you on and kind of hear your point of view of what happened down there. Looked like a lot of fish were caught. We were in some group chats with some people. Phones were buzzing. We kind of wanna hear how it went. I haven't even. This will actually be pretty awesome. I only got the Snapchats and whatever in the group chat, and it all happened in a blur. But I haven't even talked to you on the phone, so I don't know fully what all went down. So we're pretty pumped to have you on here and chat about it. So,
Yeah.
how fired up were the boys in opening morning? I mean, what time did you get out? What was the game plan? Alarm clock? What were you thinking?
Well, we thought with it being cold in the morning that we should not be in any hurry to get on the water. And
Smart man.
we had
Mm,
we had a goal to get out by 5 on the water. So I think
that's good.
we got up at 4. And yeah, basically stopped a quick trip real quick for some essentials and got to the water, and we were on our first spot probably by 5:15 or so. And as we were pulling into the boat launch, we were already getting the first snaps of fish getting caught. So turns out we should have been out there a little bit earlier because we caught the back half of the first fish feeding period for the morning when we got there.
Wasn't there a morning major? Or was that super early?
It might have been before light.
Yeah, it was actually earlier than that, but I'm sure you've heard it before, but muskies on Green Bay don't follow the moon charts. They actually eat when there is nothing going on out there or any major. So, yeah, you can't
Classic.
use. Yeah,
Is that known fact? Is that
it's an-
like they hate
it's-
majors?
yeah, it's a known fact. If you have a moon chart, you just go and you look and see when the worst time to be fishing is, and then hang on.
Damn. Mind of their own.
Unreal. Unreal. So did things start out hot and heavy for you guys? You said you got out there on the back half of that feeding window. Were you guys able to experience or partake in that?
Yeah, we pulled into a little isolated spot off the river to start off with. We actually went through there really fast. We side imaged one fish, 4 of us casting. It was like a marina area. So we were able to hit it quick and see if anything was going on, and it really wasn't. It was pretty stagnant in there. So we bailed out really quick, and took us a little bit to get to our second spot. So, there were fish getting caught during that time, and we pulled up to our second spot, and it was like Mason's second cast. He threw a backlash on the spot, and he's sitting there pulling it out and just reels it in, and here comes a beautiful 46.5 into the 8. Started off kind of lazy, but it would open its mouth in the corners when he hung the Hunzy tail banger, and the fish would just kind of like mouth it, but not just like suck in that back blade. The second time that it didn't get it, he pulled it really hard and fast deep into alongside the boat, and then hung it up in the second corner, and that charged it up. That time it got enough to get hooks into its mouth. And we got that one, but that was pretty sick footage. I got that on video, so that was
Nice.
cool. Yeah, that was enough to get us super fired up.
What size is working right there on opener?
That was a 8.9.
Oh, a little
Yeah.
bit larger. Okay.
So so we got out there and I like go to grab my lucky one from 2 years ago, which is a 7/8 single. And,
Yeah.
it's super bright, like perchy skirt, like fire tiger with an orange and a chartreuse blade on it. And so he like immediately goes and digs in his box. And then he did this to me last year too. Like I moved a 50 incher in the first like 10 minutes last year on opening morning on a tube, and he goes and puts on a different tube and proceeds to catch all the fish afterwards. So there's some he's got my number for sure. Like Mason's really good at sniping fish.
Is he the
Looks
new
like you
human
came on
demon
here to
musky
get something off
vacuum?
your chest.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got a lot to get off my chest. I'm gonna be firing on all cylinders here the whole night.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. No, I mean, I'm stoked for the kid.
Yeah.
It was sweet. So no hard feelings at all. But yeah, he goes and he like grabs this citrus, Crown Royal citrus or whatever that color is.
Oh,
I think is
yeah.
a show color this year, which is
Yeah.
like bright too. And yeah, he ended
More
up
gold
using
though.
that. No, there is really
No?
no.
I'm thinking of a different one then.
It's got a little purple skirt and it's got yellow and like
Oh,
orange
oh.
skirt. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then the
yeah.
blade is like that
Copper and
copper and
flame,
fl-
chartreuse orange flame.
I think so. Yep, with a chartreuse
Yeah.
banger on the back, so it was bright.
Yeah.
But so that spot was really short. We got that fish. Didn't see anything else. We just hopped across the river to the other side, which was another decent spot. And I think while we were dealing with that first fish, or shortly after, one on the other side of the river got caught. And oh my God, this is a hilarious story. And I feel really bad. I don't know if these kids are going to be listening to this or not, but we get over to the other side and we start on the drift. And I scared like a pair of muskies that were spawning off the shoreline. And we kind of kept working down. And all of a sudden, this other boat in front of us is hooked up on a fish. And they took forever. Like they were fighting it. We're pretty sure it was a mega. And they get it in the boat and they're all like, yay, high-fiving and stuff. And I think the guy with the net dropped the net to high five everybody and celebrate, and somehow the fish got out. But what happened before this leading up to it is when they hooked up, I saw the guy that had the net pull the net up and it was an RS net. And I was like, oh God, I feel really bad for these guys. The fish is gonna blow through the net or something, that net's gonna fail.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
Oh. Oh man.
So I'm not
superpowers.
superstitious or anything, but I felt kind of bad after that.
Did you
I'm
know?
suspicious.
Do you know those guys?
No, we didn't know
So
them.
you don't know if it was like an absolute mega, but they were celebrating like it was.
Well, they spot locked on that spot for the whole rest of the day. Every time we went by there, like traveled up and down the river, they were sitting there.
They didn't want to leave it.
One guy was sitting there forever. I'm pretty sure they were in tears after that happened. So I'm guessing it was one of those fish of a lifetime.
Yeah, that's I think that's worse than like just, fucking up a net job. Like the fact that you got it and then you just totally disregard the net and it's like, oh.
Yeah, we didn't talk to them. They did not want to talk to anybody. They would just sit there and then they would slide out and block anybody that tried to fish in that area for the whole rest of the day.
No kidding.
So they weren't about to talk to anybody. So I don't really know the story of it, but yeah.
Double nickel?
Could have been. I don't know.
Dude, who knows down there?
It's crazy.
But so that's still part of that same window. And during that time, right after they lose that one, Mason moved two more fish, another one similar in size, like a 44-ish, 46. That kind of came in lazy, didn't try and eat, didn't go through the 8. And then right afterwards, like a 40-incher that came in, and that one came up hot and tried to eat and just missed the bait. It actually like hit the side of the bait, kind of like came up from behind it and opened its mouth and turned to swim away last second with its mouth open and just caught like skirt. Never got any hooks in it or blade, anything. Might have hit like the blades or whatever. So that was unfortunate. We could have doubled up in, like 20 minutes with two really nice fish. But
oh man,
that was the end of that fish feeding period. After that,
that's
happened.
wild. So with
I,
these, oh, go ahead, Brian, if you got something.
yeah, I just have a question because you always hear about like certain lakes getting a ton of pressure and like certain bites and baits, just kind of dying off. How come every year it seems like it's a 7-8 stagger um, out on the Fox or out on the Bay? Like, did you guys mix it up much outside of blades, or is it just like tried and true and the fish just like still can't resist them?
I I pulled a brine and threw the kitchen sink at him.
There
Like
we go.
literally
Let's
everything.
go.
I've changed baits more
Nice.
times than I would like to
Ever?
admit. I threw almost an entire Lakewood Husky box worth of baits this weekend.
What?
Cripes.
That's not bad
Yeah.
numbers.
No, it's
Brian's like, hey man, I mean that was like my rookie year, but whatever.
I
Maybe
threw a
one day I'll
4 foot
be like
wrecking
Brian.
raft worth of baits.
Brian's like tipping the cap over there. Like
I mean,
respect.
he was like
my
digging
man.
under my
My
feet.
man.
He was digging under my feet, like, hey, what you got hiding down here? What have we not thrown today?
What are we working with?
What are we working with here? What blade can I put on this? Can I put a blade on the back of a
Yeah, the mods were
Ridgeway?
fun.
Yeah, let's do it. That was hilarious. That tube that Max threw, he was throwing a tube without a blade. I took the blade off and put a normal hook on it. So the bladed hook was sitting out there and Brian staring at it like
I
in
gotta
his
do something
mind,
with
apparently just
this.
had like, I gotta throw this on the back of a crankbait. Just and he's messing with so many different blades and we're all like the first blade he put on there and we're like, dude, that looks horrible.
Damn near at a number 6 Colorado on the back of a Ridgeway by the end of
It's
it.
like,
Jeez.
dude,
Whoa.
pulling a little hard
It
Anyways.
looked all
there.
right. But anyways, yeah,
Anyways,
back to the program.
back to the program. So I wanted to which I know we've chatted about this before, and a lot of lakes, there's so many windows, but you never know. I mean, we've seen in tournaments, there's random one-off fish you can catch. So how important are these feeding windows in Green Bay? You're talking about group chats, leaving your notifications on. You had other people fish in the area. You want to know when they're biting. I know that's a thing. Talk about that, but also another question on top of that. Were there ever, did you have any one-offs where you had a bite or a fish and you heard of nobody else catching one, or did somebody catch one and you're like, what the hell's going on? When's this window gonna open?
Yeah. So throughout Saturday, honestly, I think the fish were kind of going all day. So we had the mega windows where who knows, they're probably in an hour span. There could have been, 50 fish or more caught in that river. I heard of boats
Jesus.
catching, up to 19 was the most one boat got on opening day.
Day?
Day.
I thought that was a weekend total. Holy shit, opening day. Wow.
I think that was a day. I mean, that they were,
Jeez.
trolling, casting
Yeah.
alike. But anyway, so these windows were super important, but for opener, this was probably one of the best ones that most people that I talked to have ever had, with the exception of maybe like Doug Wagner didn't get a fish on opening day for some reason. Like he just was not in the right spot at the right time or driving when he should have been casting or who knows what, but he's just like it. We talked to him and he was just like flabbergasted about how many fish were getting caught and why he couldn't like stumble upon one. So there were like little, like every time we would move, it seemed like fire up and drive to another spot, we'd see a bag in the water, or we'd be casting
Yeah.
and then we get a ping, if you saw that like snap group for the Hunsey Tail Bangers, it seemed like periodically throughout the day there was always like one here, one there, there'd be time in between. But our personal action was pretty dismal in between these mega windows. We would side image a fish here, side image actually quite a few fish, but we might raise one. We might get a hit, but it could have been, us hitting, a non-target species, a lot of carp out there, and that we just randomly like cross paths with catfish. We caught pike, we caught bass, we caught a big walleye on a fill.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah.
That's sweet.
But yes, so I kept my notifications on because if I didn't see a net in the water, I wanted to know, when the bite when a bite might start happening, so that we made sure that we were like fishing a decent spot, or made sure that, we had all the right baits going, that our confidence baits or something, like, we just get dialed back in, we just, all right, guys, there's a net in the water, or yep, somebody just got one, like we could be getting into another window. Let's everybody get ready, just snap out of your funk. Cause you can, when you're on the water for 15 hours a day, we fished like 43, 44 hours and slept 12 hours, I think, in 3 days out there. And, you can definitely kind of just fall into that trance, or, get into a rhythm and kind of musky blackout, forget what you're doing, not pay attention. We just always want to make sure that when something else was going on, that we were definitely honed in, dialed in, ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
Real quick, Gus, I was just gonna ask. It's the obligatory question, I think, here. You got to ask somebody that went down there for openers. You talk about all these other boats, bags in the water. What was it like out there on opening day? I mean, was this as crazy as people make it out to be?
yeah. A lot of the north sections of the bay were a little pre-spawn. The fish weren't around. It didn't seem like, from the scouting that I'd heard of. So everybody was in the Fox. It was super crowded, but for the most part, everyone kind of knows the game plan there, and is respectful, and the trollers stay far enough out of the way. It's not like we're cutting off each other. Casters are working around each other. It's all cordial. Everybody knows that it's crowded, and everybody knows what's going on there, and you just can't really get upset for people getting too close to you, because that's just the way it is. And the only time I heard of somebody getting mad was like a shore fisherman casting. I don't even know. I don't know what happened. All I know is that the guy in the boat snagged somebody's line because they casted all the way across the dock and hooked this guy's bait, and he like ripped the rod out of the other guy's hand, snapped it in half, and like threw it in the water.
Oh my God.
So like that's the only
A little bit of a dust up.
Yeah, a little confrontation with somebody on the shore, but otherwise everybody out in the boats were, I didn't hear of any, arguments or anything. It's just you do what you do. You move around, you move in, you move out, depending on, who's coming. If you come across like multiple boats coming your way, you'll go outside for one and you go inside. You just kind of take turns working around each other. And it's just the way it is. There's fish all over there, and they're constantly moving in and out of that river. So there's always fresh fish on spots. So it doesn't matter. Like if there's 3 or 4 boats like in front of you, you're still going to pull in and fish a spot, just because you just never know when another fish is sliding up or sliding across, or, fish get done spawning and they're ready to eat. It's just a whole different thing down there, I guess.
Yeah. Jesus, that's like a whole other world. I mean, compared to what you'd ever see up in northern Wisconsin.
In my mind, I can see how you, even on a weekend where they're absolutely firing on all cylinders in the Fox River with how many people in there, I can totally understand how you could go and just get, totally skunked, or really have it tough. Like if your timing's off, like you were just talking about, I just visually can like see myself in a situation like getting frustrated, like, oh man, like you see the nets in the water, it's happening, and you're fishing all the same spots. It's not like you're fishing the wrong spots or wrong baits. It's just literally all up to the musky gods and your timing. But one thing I do have, you said the trollers were really respectful and not getting in people's ways, and you said the trollers were getting fish, but he also mentioned that the old Canadian side wasn't doing so well. Do you think were those trollers getting fish because they were able to jut into spots shallower where there weren't boats casting, or how do you think they got them? Did they get more transitional fish out deeper, or what?
I think there was a pile of fish in a few spots on the river out in the middle. And if you were casting, unless you like went out there to specifically target those fish suspended out there, which you would be in the way of the trollers, and there would probably be some problems. Like I don't know. It's just something you don't do, I guess. You either troll in the middle or you cast the shorelines. I didn't really see anybody go out there and try and target those because you can run so many lines down there, 3 per person. You'd be silly to go out there and actually try and catch those fish casting. I mean, unless you were like a complete hater of trollers, which then you're probably going to get in a confrontation anyways, which then you can go back to all the rules that Phil said on your last podcast about, reasons not to go down and fish on the Fox.
You did a really good job laying that out for everybody. I hope people followed that little rule book he gave us.
There was a lot of laughs about that down there. A lot of people were chuckling about it. It was great.
That's good.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 19 fish for that one boat. Phew, it's enough for me to start getting in Gus's ear a little bit about next opener.
Hey, easy there, pal.
Could be fun.
if we start fishing 20-hour days, then you can call me. But if you're sitting on your ass by Saturday at 10 a.m., I don't want to hear it.
Real quick, I mean, I know we got Clayton on here, but Gus, I don't know how this didn't come up. I mean, we got to just quickly revisit this. I know Brian got a lot of hate for the last hour on a couple different topics. This one, I don't know how you skated by on. I mean, your back issue, your quote unquote back issue that you got going on. What's going on here, man? You're 26 years old. Like
I don't know, man.
You were bowing out every
Jack
2 hours.
Too, at least. At least I wasn't alone there.
The amount of times I saw you stretching, reaching for your toes, complaining.
It's a long day, dude. You got to stay loose. You got to know when, all right, bite's not going. I can take a little breather.
We said multiple times, you're like, man, we're fishing so hard. And I'm like, I think we said multiple times, Gus and I did, like, there are people that are going so much harder than us on opener right now.
Oh yeah,
we're taking 3.5 hour lunch breaks.
We got out on the water at 8:30 every morning.
We pull up a video later that night in the cabin, and it's an old Today's Angler, and he's like, all right, up at 1:30, driving to the launch, I'll be there by 5. And we're like, holy shit.
And these guys are bitching about getting up at 6 a.m. I mean, Brian, thank you.
I'm sleeping in.
I'm getting all this slander. I'm hopping off.
That's fine. We got Musky Clayton on.
Just had to quickly revisit that. Anyways, carry on. Man. Sorry, I don't know if I interrupted something or whatnot.
No, there were boats that were out there at midnight down there. Like they got out and they fished midnight through the entire day. With maybe they stopped for lunch or something. I don't even know, but they only got on opener. They only got one fish at like 12:30 in the morning, and then they didn't really do anything the whole rest of the day, and they were pretty down and out by the end of that day. They ended up catching a bunch more. For some reason, they did better than on Sunday than a lot of people. They caught a bunch on Sunday and on Monday, I think. So they started to dial in a pattern. But man,
oh my goodness,
if I was going out at midnight to fish all night, and
that'd be a
that's
long
different.
Night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we saw Trevor Cease caught a big one at some point in the night. I didn't check the timestamp. He sent it in a group chat, but I mean, that was pitch black. I think it was fairly close to midnight, but yeah, those guys were grinding.
Yeah, there were quite a few guys that got some big fish in the dark. Sterling King, I think, got one Saturday, bright and early, before anything was starting to get light out.
So let's go back to your boat. You guys popped 46, and you have a chance at a couple others on Saturday. Any other fish for you guys on Saturday? And if not, take us into Sunday. But what happened the rest of Saturday?
So Saturday was kind of not a whole lot happened until I think it was in the 5 o'clock hour, which is still before. I don't know if that was during the moon.
Moon was set ballpark. Moon set up here was like at 6:03 for Eagle River.
Okay, so at the start of that minor, that was like the biggest window for us for the day. We got into this area, and it was like there was like nothing going on, and all of a sudden we started side imaging fish out of nowhere, and we popped 44.5. Jamie got one on a Lake X toad, and as soon as I sent the net picture, I got one back from Tim. He had gotten a fish. So I was like, oh, it's on. And then we came across a boat and they're like, well, we just caught one. We just lost another one. And we look over and here's some other friends of theirs that have another fish that they're fighting and put in the bag in this tiny little area. And so we're like, holy crap. And now there's fish everywhere, all over the place in there. And we end up going a little bit further. And I think that's when I don't know what happened. I thought I was snagged on a fish. In the video, I'm like, I think I'm snagged. And I pull, I'm like, oh, it's coming. And it's not fighting or anything. It feels like I pulled a log off of the shoreline and it's going down the break. And I kind of let the rod tip down, after a few seconds to see like how it reacts. And the thing started head shaking extremely hard and popped off. And those guys think that I had a giant muskie on. I think I had like a carp snag sideways or big catfish or something. I'm not really sure.
Like,
I would love to have that opportunity back again to fight a little different, and would also love to just see what it was, whether, even if I still lost it, I'd love to see what it actually was.
Yeah.
That was kind of a little bit pisses me off because I go back and look at the footage and I thought that I hit it when I was ripping, and it turns out that it hit my tube, or my tube hit it like on the drop, and I got a really good hook set. It was just on one of those little micro Red October tubes.
Oh yeah.
And I put like a banger blade on the back with a pin. And or no, it wasn't. That was a different tube. I was actually using a 10-inch tube for that one, but I didn't have it. I didn't have any new teeth marks in the bait. So, but I also didn't bring any scales back.
I think the way you describe it initially, before you even said that the guys were like, oh, I think you lost a big fish. When you said you dropped the rod and you said it was head shaking like crazy, that to me, that's like just a carp freaking out or something.
Yeah.
When
And
they just start going balls to the wall and you can feel their tail almost,
I was 100% set saying that that's exactly what happened until I kind of watched the video and it looked like I almost got hit on the fall. Hang on a second. I got to take some food out of the oven.
Oh, that's okay.
While you're doing that, I can tell you a story that might make you feel a little better. And that was when we were fishing Minnetonka last November. I was throwing the big Bam Bam over like a shallow weed flat, and when I was ripping it up, bait dropped back down and into my next rip. I also felt a bump, so I set the hook, and for the first 10 seconds, it felt like it was something I couldn't move. So I started going like, this is the one, this is the one. And after about 10 seconds, like maybe not even 10 seconds of fighting it, like 5 or 6 seconds, it started to freak out. And I instantly knew something was weird with
dogging
it.
you.
And it was a carp. But
that thing was ripping.
It did hit on the drop in a way where it felt like a rubber hit, where you couldn't actually feel it like, like when your next set you go and it's like there. It was like I actually felt it hit on the drop, but it was just the bait literally hitting the fish and then me setting into the back of the carp.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps you out at all, but it was the same thing you described where like I couldn't move it. I thought I was like snagged for like a couple seconds. And then it all of a sudden it like, started going nuts. But
and being that like I was fishing a lot of the time off the backside of the boat and stuff, and I was, trying to throw different stuff. So I threw a lot of rubber. I hit a lot of carp and catfish with my bait, like a lot. Like I stopped even, I would set the hook hard and everyone would kind of turn and look and I wouldn't even say anything because I'm like, I'm not even gonna tell you guys anything unless I see a fish behind my bait because I'm hitting so many carp. It was, it was like every cast, at times where I'd be like, oh, there's another one, and just try, it kind of helped me stay ready, but it was also kind of annoying. So that definitely, like I said, I'll never know for sure what it is because I didn't see it, but I do think that I had a fish snag sideways. I still kind of believe that. Anyways, so that all happened. And then we turn around and look, and another boat's fighting another fish, and it turned out to be like a 30-pound catfish. And as we're talking about it and laughing because the guys put their net down, Jamie's just standing there hopping a tube alongside the boat and gets crushed again, or towed. The same toad that he caught the one, half hour before, and he caught another fish. That one was 38. And I'm trying to think of what happened after that. We ended up like side imaging a couple other fish, and then it was done. The wind had switched directions during that minor, and once it switched, and it was pretty light for a while, and then it started picking up and it started cooling off, and it was the tail end of that minor. It was like done, and it was so done that we stopped even side imaging fish. The bait fish all of a sudden was gone. Like everything was just gone. And then we fished, for a couple more hours until almost dark. And I was like, we just need to get off the water. Like there's no sense staying out here. This bite, we're not going to do anything, for sun had set, nothing happened. It was literally like a dead sea, and we stopped getting texts. We stopped seeing nets out. Basically nobody was doing anything. When everyone that I talked to down there said that it was over with after that mega window.
Wow.
It was over.
Yeah, and you would know when it's dark out. You see the lights come on in the boat, all the
Right.
headlamps and whatnot, and yeah, I mean, that new moon or something. So overall, do you think Saturday was when the absolute most fish were caught in the river? Probably.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's wild.
Could just be
Man.
like that's when all the pressure and all the baits, first look at a lot of rivers and stuff.
True,
and then
true.
That's part of it. I mean, it was almost like a perfect storm, though. I mean, there were so many fish in that river. The fact that it was starting to warm up weather-wise after that major cold front. So fish had moved in there. They had started spawning. They were pulling eggs, 2 weeks prior from females way up by the dam. And this is kind of interesting too. On Sunday, our action was much slower. We ended up losing a couple fish, and then Jamie got another 44 and a half. That fish was pit tagged, and he sent the information into the DNR, and he got it back, and it was actually netted and tagged up by the dam on the 5th of May, I believe, or something. And it was a male, like 44 and a quarter or something male. And it was probably about at least halfway back out the river where we caught it. But it was back in this little slough area of hot water, which ended up being fire. That spot there were so many fish that I heard get caught in that area that weekend. Warmer water. But anyways, so there were fish up in there, on the 5th of May already spawning. They were pulling eggs, and then there were still fish dumping eggs as they were being caught this weekend. So I think like what happened is a pile of fish moved in there. They started spawning. It cooled off. That big cold front kind of stalled it out, but they stayed in there, and just kind of staged up and waited. Now it's starting to warm back up again right before the weekend. So they're starting to spawn, or they're they're going through with their spawn stuff and finishing up, and they're in. And then all these other fish that maybe were out further in the bay are working their way back in. And it was like all the fish were in there basically. I mean, I'm sure there were some fish still out in the mouth, and, fish that were on their way out already. So they're not all in there, but there was a absolute pile of fish in there the way it sounds. It's just more than most people have seen in a very, very long time, it seemed like.
Unreal.
So I guess in the future you're hoping for kind of a cool down a couple weeks prior to opener, and then sort of a trending, warming period right around opener.
Yeah. I mean, if you could replicate the weather of what happened this weekend, that was pretty much spot on.
And add new moon.
Yeah. Our buddy, and our buddy Tom from down there, Matthew, he got that 54 and a quarter that was pre-spawn. Thing had like a 26 and a half inch, 27-inch girth on it or something like that.
Oh my God.
Guy's just a big fish magnet.
Yeah, and he's the one that he shows up at like 10 in the morning and fishes for like an hour and sticks his fish, not even during a major or anything. He's been out for a little while, and all of a sudden he sends us a snap. Oh, yep. huh, what's the biggest
Giant.
fish ever? What's the biggest fish ever caught on a Hunzi tail? And we're like, are you kidding me?
Is that the new one? Is that the new biggest?
No, he missed it by a quarter
Oh.
inch.
It was 54 and a half. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Golly.
No,
And those are some giant fish, man. That would be a sight to behold. You said in our group text that you saw what you thought was like a double nickel spawning.
Yeah. One more thing I want to say about Sunday. So we did get that
Okay.
one fish. And we had enough encounters with follows. Like I had some follows. We lost a few fish. I filled up an SD card towards the end of that day. And this is something for everybody that's listening to kind of be careful with. I got down in the bottom of the boat and I opened up the hatch and went to pop out the SD card, and it slipped off my fingernail and it shot out of the boat and into the lake, and I lost it.
Oh,
It launched like 8 feet.
Like when it sprung, like the
Yeah,
spring
when it
of it.
sprung out.
What? I didn't know they did
Yes.
that.
I didn't either.
What?
oh,
I got it right here.
Jamie
Oh my-
Jamie was standing there watching me, and he's like, dude, you are the king of hold my beer and watch this shit stuff. Like things that you would never ever think could ever happen or go wrong. They're gonna go wrong with you. If it can and will, it will.
That there's no way. I'm pressing this in and I can like
Dude, it shot out of there. I could do it. I could do it with my I don't know, maybe my cameras are
of course it had a
spring
your
loaded.
camera.
yeah.
spring loaded.
No one else. It's like the one GoPro that does that out of the 10,000, like every one out of 10,000, and it just happened to be yours.
Anomaly
He's-
GoPro.
He's like, you've probably taken SD cards out of there 500 times. I'm like, yeah, at least. He's like, I bet you've never had one fly out. I'm like, no, not even close to leaving the camera. And this thing launched out of it.
That sucks.
So thankfully it was only the one fish that we, that we actually caught. I didn't have like my personal best on there or something. He's like, well, at least you didn't
Yeah.
catch like a 55 today and lose that footage. I'm like, oh, you're right.
Sure.
One way to put it.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Very
So
true.
Monday, did you get out there and finish off the weekend?
Yeah, so Monday we ended up heading up north to a little surgeon to check that out. One of the guys ended up swinging up there to kind of scout it out, and there were a bunch of fish, swimming around. So we were going to go up there, see if we could find some pre-spawners, a couple active fish. And first thing in the morning, now we're getting out there even earlier. I think we were on the water by like 4:30 or something like that. But we moved 2 fish right away. Well, I had a follow that didn't eat, but like didn't even go into the figure 8, just came to the boat and then left. And then Mason had a follow where the fish kind of did the whole mouth open and shut without eating the bait sort of thing, and then turn and swim away. And that was it. But there were fish all over spawning in there. And we tried to go deep, or, kind of a little bit deeper to find some deep weeds and maybe find some pre-spawners. And, we moved a few fish out there. They were pretty lazy. They weren't eating. And then they were all heading shallow. Every single fish came off the Canadian side that time. So I moved a bunch of fish out there, but they were following in lazy, and then they were just heading shallow. And then next time we passed through, we'd go a little shallower, and then they'd be paired up or chasing, each other around like they're spawning. So it just wasn't really very good. But in the process of cruising around and checking out, the spawning fish, it's like an aquarium up there, super clear. We came across, I can't even tell you how many 50s-ish fish that we saw, but then we saw this one where I was like, well, that's a big one, like a 50-incher, and it's just sitting there. And I thought maybe it was by itself. So we like hopped a little tube out in front of it or whatever, and it didn't even like acknowledge it. In fact, it turned and started swimming the other way. And then what I thought was bottom, also like a really blonde fish just kind of appeared that was sitting next to it that I didn't even realize. I just thought it was sand on the bottom. And that fish was probably, it was north of 55. They're thinking it was like 56, 57.
What?
And the 50-incher was a male.
Oh my god.
Oh my Jesus.
Hopefully they were
Yeah.
making some babies.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
Hopefully they succeed
Better
in their
been.
spawning process. So we
Holy
left them
shit.
alone. We're like,
Unreal.
wow, we got to leave those alone.
That's a
Jeez.
lot.
What?
Yeah, when you get up into the clear water, you can probably just see so much happening. What's the clarity difference? Like, what was the fox this year? Was it dirty or not too bad?
Box was pretty dirty, maybe like a foot visibility tops, maybe
Ooh,
not even.
okay.
Maybe like a foot and a half, I suppose. So like when we got really shallow, you could see kind of if there was weeds or anything, you could just kind of make out like the dark image. You couldn't actually see details of the bottom. But then you get up in a little sturgeon and there's like 15 feet of visibility.
Damn. What was
10
the
to
water temp
15.
difference?
Gosh, I don't even know. I wasn't even really paying attention to that too much. I want to say the warmest I saw in the Fox was like 68 in some of the sloughs that, didn't have current or, it was calm, but the majority of it was like low 60s.
Yeah.
And then we got up to Little Sturgeon and it was low 50s, I believe, up there. So it was
Okay.
about 10
That
degrees.
makes
I would
sense,
say it's
yeah.
about 10 degrees different.
Gotcha. Wow, that's a big change. I mean,
Big swing.
we were what, anywhere from
We saw as low as
mid
50,
to
like we saw
54, 50.
maybe 54 and a half as the
Yeah,
lowest, and then as the highest we saw
59,
61.
60.
I thought
Yeah.
60, 61 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
And
still, I mean, some spawning fish, so
yeah, I think there might be there should be some spawning fish up here. Very few and far between, but most of the ones we caught were beat up. A couple small ones that look clean and pristine. I think Max's small one was not a mark on it, and your small one on day one, Brian, was not a mark on it. I think the
yeah.
rest were.
Two
They didn't
biggest
get any
ones
action this year.
two biggest ones we saw though were both pretty clean.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
the super
The
mega
fish,
giant didn't have. I don't think that fish has ever seen the inside of a boat the way it looked.
yeah, yeah, and the two, at least for sure, the larger one that I lost, I think was, I think she was clean. She seemed clean.
Yeah.
Maybe she had a clean egg dumping. I don't know. Maybe the males were nicer this year.
Yeah.
Who
Didn't
knows?
pick out her.
Yeah.
They were
We were-
respectful on that lake.
We were
Gentlemen.
definitely depending on where we were in the river system, if we were up, the closer we got to the dam, all the fish seemed like they were beat up. Like I know there were a few caught up there that were pretty clean, but then if we went out towards the mouth, it seemed like we came across a lot more clean fish where, the follows that we saw or the fish that we caught, were ultra clear. And when the videos or the pictures and stuff end up getting posted, you'll see some of them are super beat up and some of them are really clean. And I think, there were still fish coming in there. As we were fishing, there were new fish coming in out of the bay, which was, kind of neat.
And
Sweet.
Sounds just like it's
Perfect storm.
yeah. Yeah, this is a good year to bookmark for all those people that are listening to this and fish, the Fox this year. Just bookmark this weather trend and
Or
dates
don't.
and everything for future. Yeah, or don't.
Or don't. And then maybe we will though. Maybe we'll slide out.
For sure.
There's no way we're getting you up any earlier than 6 a.m. So
Dog, to fish the Fox when there's a Clayton saw 57? And I quote?
Right.
I mean, we were going back to a pile of really nice fish, and that didn't tickle your fancy enough to get up before 6 a.m. My
No.
alarm went off at Monday at 5:30 a.m. Brian didn't leave his bed till 6:20.
That's not true.
It's true.
Also, like it also
It's so true.
also like it didn't like change when we left. If I'd have jumped out at 5:30, like it
I
would.
Don't know how you can say that.
We were
Yeah,
waiting
you
for
guys
your
are
ass.
missing. You guys are
You were
missing
never waiting.
moonrise.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
Y'all are
Brian.
acting
Wouldn't
like
change
I
anything.
slugged around till like 8, and you guys are sitting on the truck for an hour.
Well, who do you think's putting out all the stuff into the car?
Nah,
It's not
Gus.
Santa Claus.
Gus, while you're taking
The
a
gear
shit.
fairy? All right. All right.
Didn't you guys know that like moonrise was happening in the morning early? Think about
That
getting
was
We
that-
hit
maybe
the
that was-
other three window.
the other three.
I think it was
Oh,
like
you fished-
3:30
you
to
fished into the
5:30.
night.
On
Yeah.
night one, yeah. Yeah, we fished until like 11 p.m. We did get one after dark.
Yeah,
Got one in the
I saw
figure eight
that.
on the crankbait, and that was pretty neato. Um, Everything went completely dark. I have battery issues.
That
Graphs were
was not
dark, boat was
neato
dark, night was
Uh-oh.
dark.
because we were not fishing a shoreline spot, or well, we were not fishing a lake that was just like fish shoreline. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
edge was like a good couple football fields out from the shoreline. So when we went dark, it was very dark everywhere.
I can
Yeah.
make it sporty.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing it was calm, and thank God Brian stopped throwing that frickin' globe. So I like the peace and quiet of that night.
Yeah. At least with the
Yo,
globe, you can't fuck up the 8 with the globe because you know when it's to the boat.
that's true.
Surely do. Everyone on the entire lake knows when you're
Yeah.
close to the
Before we
fish.
got you on here, Clayton, and I didn't, like I said, we didn't talk before doing this podcast, so we didn't really talk about each other's openers, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't heard your stories yet, but I'm sure
we
I
had a
will in this
whole,
podcast when I listen.
you will, and I'll tell you more the next time I see you or on the phone or at league or something. Because there's just some funny ones. It's it's too good.
Yeah.
Um, I do have one last question. I don't know if you guys have anything, or and Clayton, of course, chime in if you got some last thoughts about Green Bay. But this just popped into my mind like 20 minutes ago, but we started chatting about something else. So Clayton, you've been all over. You fished Green Bay quite a bit. You've obviously grew up in the Northwoods. You fought a ton of fish up here. You go to Canada a bunch. You fought a ton of fish up there. You've caught some 50s. You've caught some really nice fish. Do the Green Bay fish fight really hard? I know you say the Canadian fish probably fight the hardest, especially those like cracked out 46s or whatever that are just insane. And
Mhm.
obviously, we've come across some pretty insane fish up here in the Northwoods that aren't all that big, but they fight really hard. What about Green Bay fish?
Um, I think depending on the time of year, like as the water warms up, the fish fight harder, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I don't care where you go. It seems like I think
Yeah.
muskies are muskies, and they're gonna fight hard. I've watched some fish fight extremely hard, in Green Bay in the summertime, or in August or whatever when we're getting them out in the bay. I've seen, muskies fight extremely hard up here and in Canada, obviously. And usually they are just, when they're really fire and our favorite time of the year when you can burn blades or you can rip rubber as hard and as fast as you can over the weeds, and these fish are just going nuts attacking baits like they're fighting their absolute hardest at that time. Now I know, like, and so you can go back to Tom's fish. He kind of told us a story a little bit about it, that 54 and a quarter in the river. He said it was like he didn't even have drag on his reel. He's locking his thumb down with the drag locked all the way down. It's still peeling line out. And that fish fought like absolute crazy for a big pre-spawn female. So,
Jeez.
I mean, I gotta say, I haven't personally experienced, a fish of that caliber. I'm assuming that once you get over the 50-inch threshold, my biggest down in Green Bay so far is like 44 to 46, somewhere in there. And and it fought hard, but like I gotta think that those fish just have so much power, and that they can do whatever they want at will. And you have to let them do stuff or you're gonna straighten all the hooks out on them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, um, I think I don't know. I don't know if there's any fish that fights any harder than any other fish, personally,
Sure.
from my
Yeah.
experience.
I was
And
just kind of overly curious because there's such roamers out there. They move a lot. I feel like they got to move pretty hard to find their prey. I feel like they'd fight pretty damn hard.
they're
Um,
powerful for sure.
yeah.
And then you go to like Minnesota, and if you get in that shallow sand bite where it's ultra shallow, and you hook a fish and it just starts jumping like a tarpon, and it because it's got nowhere else to go, so like that's a whole different kind of a fight too. But that same fish, if you caught it off the break, or out over open water or something, is going to fight different. So I
Sure.
don't. That's a loaded question. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can go about it, and I don't know if there's a right answer for it or not.
True.
That's a very fair answer, though. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Any housekeeping things while we got Clayton on? I'm not sure. Brian, I do want to issue an apology. I feel like we were a little bit harsh to you in this podcast. So
No, it's
You
fine.
did catch some fish this weekend. Had some fun with you,
All I
man.
need is
it's great being back in the boat
I
with
just
you,
need the
buddy.
audio posted for my bucktail catch.
Yes.
I'll get
Get
some
it done.
captions because I think it was a slight breeze. A few of us got like muted out, but the the whole everything, the conversation leading up to Brian's freaking junior cowgirl fish in May was pretty hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Brian,
good
did you try and catch one on a glider at all?
That's what I started the day with on Saturday.
Oh,
And
Start
yeah,
is
why
a
don't you
crazy
just
statement.
listen back to the beginning of this pod? We
all
rehashed
right,
it.
all right, all right.
It
Yeah.
started
Well,
Let's just
early.
say,
Curious.
Literally the first
Clayton,
5
Clayton,
minutes.
that is a fantastic question. I'm very glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So
Stay
you'll just have to
tuned.
go back and listen to the start of the pod and you'll get your answer.
I can't wait.
Hashtag not a glide bait guy.
You and
doesn't
Phil
have the
would get
cadence.
along. You and Phil would get along really well.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Phil's a smart
Maybe
guy. That's
You
no
should-
Are we-
wonder.
You should have seen him. That guy, he had the hammer jerk on, and we crossed paths with him multiple times or whatever, and he's like throwing it at our boat anytime he gets close. And he's like, "You see this thing? This thing is the coolest thing ever. I thought dive rise was just as dumb as glide baits, but this thing actually does something. I really like it."
I
And then
like diving rise.
and at the end of the day, half the paint's missing off it because he bounced it off of trees, rocks, and docks.
Yeah,
all
I'm
day.
the same guy.
God, Phil is
Oh,
Brian.
Phil.
Yeah.
Brian is Phil.
Brian and Phil would make, yeah. It looks like
Oh,
the next
man.
glide bait Nick makes might need to be called the Brian.
Brian.
The Brian and the Phil. Just a
Yeah.
hell of a lineup.
Yep.
God. Yeah, no, man, Northern Wisconsin opener is just a hell of a time though. It seems like, you've done the Green Bay thing now for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed, a year here and there, but I think I've spent
4, 5.
4 years, I think, down there.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe five,
That's pretty
5
cool.
years. Yeah.
Opening weekend's always just so much fun. You kind of have like, especially if you have a little, game plan like you guys do, or like, us three do, where we just kind of go up, explore. You guys are doing the bay, just get together with a bunch of buddies. It's a bunch of other musky nuts out there. Just a good time.
Yeah, I think that's why I like going down there is for, of course, the camaraderie, fishing with the buddies, the Green Bay boys. If I get a chance to fish with them, 3 times a year or so, that's one of the times when I try and I don't book any trips and I just go down there and, have a good time. It's kind of becoming a tradition. I do enjoy it up here too for opener. We always, get on the fish usually and catch, a bunch of those little males and stuff. And once in a while you get a halfway decent one, but it's fun to get away. Go fish water that's not your own.
For sure.
I got
That
I
is
got all
true.
summer to fish here.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's why we like to go beat up on new fish. We love the exploration of new lakes or fairly new to us lakes on opener or lakes we've never fished early season. We're like, why not? I don't know. Just use it to
No, I love
bounce
that.
around.
Yeah, that
The days are long. We got so much time in the day to switch lakes if need be. It's not the fall where you fish 2 spots and you're like, holy shit, it's 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's so
You know?
true. Especially coming off that is like the last time you've musky fished and you just forget what an actual long summer day is like.
Yeah.
It's like you have so
So
much
much
time
better.
Yeah.
to drink,
Yep.
3 hours
Whoa,
worth of
whoa.
lunch beers.
Whoa.
Jesus.
To drink,
Had a good time.
period.
Yeah. Yeah, Clayton, like we said in earlier in the pod, just we might be on a Keys episode where he's zooming in on Brian mowing his burger and us sipping back a couple, and he was there at the bar.
We were
Nice.
dying.
For
We
lunch.
left and
at lunch.
Brian, what'd you say? You're like he brought out the camera. I was like,
Yeah,
I was
no, you-
just
you
going
went-
into my
you-
first bite of my burger. I was so hungry.
Yeah, you went to the bathroom, and so now I'm like the person next to him, and she drops the food in front of me, and I'm diving in, and I look out the corner of my eye, camera's right on me, take my first bite.
Yes.
Hopefully it's a slow-mo in the next, I don't know, I guess that'll be next year, but
Like, who the hell is that guy
Going in on a burger.
yeah.
going in?
Well,
All right,
gentlemen,
man. Do you guys got anything closing statements here? Otherwise, I think this was a hell of a recap. I had a blast.
It's going to be a good season. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is. It's
very
gonna be a
true.
great season.
I'm looking forward to it. Good to see you back in the Northwoods, Clayton.
Yeah, it's good to be home. I was ready to get back, get in my own boat too.
Get out of the big
got to.
city.
Yeah.
Big city of GB. All right, Clayton, if you want to drop your info and if you got any more openings, let the listeners know. And
Yeah.
hopefully they book a trip with you.
Sure. I appreciate that. Again, my number is 715-891-1046. Running musky trips all summer long and into the fall. I do have, quite a few openings scattered out. I guess just give me a shout if you're interested in getting the boat with me. We'll work out a date. But yeah, I got Facebook, Clayton Spiess and Thistle Dew Outdoor Adventures. I got Instagram at Clayton Spiess and a YouTube channel. Check out my videos and be posting quite a few yet coming up throughout hopefully the spring if I get time to edit. I got some pretty cool stuff yet.
When's the next drop?
Gus, I do need some of your footage again.
Nice.
What
do you need?
Bunch of the stuff I got from
know.
you. Yeah,
Is
I'll
it
let you
league
know.
stuff or Doki?
League stuff and Doki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the videos that I'd gotten from you disappeared in that recent hard drive failure.
Send me a reminder. I'll get that to you hopefully by Monday. We'll do that. I'll get it on a card.
Yeah, I should be dropping a video Friday or Saturday. I think I got some, it's like little trips here, a few more league stuff going on, and then, waiting for the big deal. The Lake of the Woods stuff is always kind of the capper offer at the end of my filming season where I post stuff.
Yeah.
So there's
Looking forward to that.
Almost all of that stuff survived the hard drive crash.
That's good.
Yes.
Nice.
I literally only lost like a couple follows and a couple of lost fish. Otherwise, everything's on there from what I can tell. So
that's sweet.
Pretty jacked.
Good. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Your Lake of the Woods stuff is always awesome. So yeah, everyone be on the lookout for Thistle Dew Outdoor Adventures. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So, Clayton, thank you so much for coming on and chatting muskies. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me again. I enjoy chatting with you guys.
Oh yeah, no problem. All right, I think I'll leave it at just check out Muskies on Tap on Instagram and Facebook. We're dropping new stuff weekly now and trying to put out some cool eats, lost fish, whatever's going on in the Northwoods. Trying to wear a head cam quite often, but yeah, and Brian, why don't you take us away on this great spring night?
All right, everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Muskies on Tap. Shout out to Clayton Spiess for coming on again for the 10th, 12th, something like that time this year, or since we started the podcast, I should say. Hopefully everyone had a great opener this past weekend. Going to be getting into the meat and potatoes this summer pretty quickly here. 4th of July, only about 4 weeks away, which seems absolutely absurd.
Not true.
Big news in the Wisconsin
Definitely
world.
not 4 weeks away.
U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills this weekend. Make sure to go check it out.
Lady golf? We're doing lady golf now?
Shout out to Erin Hills hosting another major venue in the world of golf. Have a safe weekend, everybody. Bye.
Sweet.